Public hearing is hereby called to order. As your school district moderator, I'll be the presiding officer at this public hearing. My name is Larry Kraft. As stipulated in the warrant for the special public hearing and notice of public hearing and warrant dated November 5th, 2020, we're here to consider a single item that will be voted on December 8th. And it reads as follows. Article 1, shall bonds or notes oops, I lost it. Let's go back. I read it, but let's see. Here we go. Shall bonds or notes in the amount of the Springfield Town School District in an amount not to exceed $10 million be issued for the purpose of financing the cost of making energy efficiency improvements to the district's elementary, middle, and high school buildings. The estimated costs of such improvements being $10,359,346. Voters will have an opportunity to vote in favor or opposed to that when the polls open on December 8th. We're here tonight to have a presentation from the school district on that proposal. I'm going to turn the rest of the meeting over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So as we get ready to go, we have a few people here live at Park Street with us, and we've got at least one member of the public with us online. So I think what would make sense for us to do is, we got somebody else who's going to try to join us. What would make sense probably for us to do is to have each of the different people who are on the call, who are from the district presentation side of things, just introduce themselves really quickly, and then we have a brief presentation to kind of introduce some of the stuff about the actual article, and then we have an opportunity to take as many questions as people would like to give us, or until Mr. Kraft deems it's time to send us all home. So I think I'll start with Bindi.
Hi, I'm Bindi Hathorn, principal of the high school.
And Steve Cohn?
Hey, I'm Steve Cohn, principal of Riverside Middle School.
Troy?
Hi, I'm Troy Palmer. I'm the Springfield school here.
Rick?
Hi, Rick Pembroke. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the district.
And Steve Carafa.
I'm Janice Garfield. I'm the school board member.
Thanks, Janice. Steve, I'm coming back to you.
Hi, I'm school board member Steve Carafa.
Patty.
I'm Patty Camp, school board member.
Mike?
Mike Griffin, school board member.
And let's see, who did I leave out? And then Colleen Amaya is here, who's my administrative assistant, and will help kind of oversee some of the technology pieces as we go through. And Mike, can you introduce yourself? Mike Davey?
Mike Davey, I'm with EEI.
So the plan, some questions as to, go ahead, Patty. It looks like you had your hand raised.
I'm getting an echo.
We've got an area
Zach, I also get in
here in the hall. It's getting a little bit of trouble, and Sapper might be able to help us out as well. So the plan is to frame a little bit of the conversation.
Okay, now it's gone.
Is it gone now?
Ooh.
How are you doing now, Patty?
It's gone, I think.
Great. Okay. So the plan is to...
we need to have people mute their computers.
Yep.
Because we're hearing everybody's background.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, if you're not speaking, if you can mute, that'd be great. So, so then to frame the conversation for tonight, for people here and the people online, What we're going to do is we're going to play a short video that we put together to try to explain kind of the scope of the project and why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And then we have a short set of slides to get into a little bit more depth around some of the financial details and some of what we're trying to accomplish as part of that. So let me play that video for you first. And Jared, I'm moving to that other microphone.
Hi, my name is Bindi Hathor. I'm Springfield. I'm here to talk about the renovation project on the high school with windows and a new ventilation system. And I just want to talk about how important this is for the new ventilation system will provide the proper ventilation that we need and air.
I apologize, guys, for the feedback. We don't have it set up so that we're able to put it on the screen. I apologize. So but I can bring that right over and have you guys just have it if you want. Yeah, I'll pull it right over in just a second. Let me just.
You just have to come over and stand and.
That's true too.
That's true too. There is a screen right over here.
And we more than welcome to grab some of these.
Grab some chairs, or you can, it's only 10 minutes long, so, but if that helps.
Jared, I'm gonna go ahead again, and in a minute, I'm gonna turn back
Have a
on my
seat or lean
laptop
against the table,
microphone.
whatever works.
Can run the video, okay?
Don't worry about the jacket, you can sit in that chair.
So that laptop mic's coming back on now, Jared.
We'll also be able to Hi, my name is Bindi Hathor. I'm the principal of Springfield High School. I'm here to talk about the renovation project on the high school, with windows and a new ventilation system. And I just want to talk about how important this is. The new ventilation system will provide the proper ventilation that we need and air circulation. We'll also be able to update the filters that we have. Currently, we can use a size 11. With the new ventilation system, we'll be using size 13, which obviously collects more particles and is able to filter the air better, so that it makes it cleaner for staff, students, and families and other community members to breathe.
My name is Tim Bixby, the maintenance supervisor for the Springfield School District, and I want to touch base on some of the problems that's being proposed to be prepared for the bond. Starting with the high school, we have ventilators in all the classrooms that are 1967 vintage. Right now, they're all pneumatic, which all the components are not operating properly. The outside air dampers call their weather stripping. So therefore, when we call for outside air, the damper air than needed. So the ventilation system is also important because the pipes are also extremely old. Piping that constantly leak and very costly. And when they were put in originally with this building, had a lot of expanding and contracting over the years, and that has caused leaks. They moved away with the solid steels and having the pipes welded. A lot of the systems have also ventilation systems like leaks. Glycol was a part of it's a part of the system, and glycol itself doesn't smell. There's an additive that they add, and it smells, and it's extremely strong. We've had several leaks throughout the years, and we've had to move classrooms, which obviously disrupts where the teacher is able to utilize their resources in their space.
and then trying to find a space for the students to be able to hold class has been a difficulty over the years. The windows are also original to the building. They've been replaced due to damage throughout the years. And these windows are obviously extremely old. There's a lot of drafts in them as well. Students that stay too close to the windows feel that draft during classes. And anybody that's really close to those windows obviously have to be wearing a coat or bundled up with extra clothing so that they are comfortable in the room to learn. We have teachers and students using computers, and it starts to get really cold in the freeze. It's hard to be able to type and do what to do or what.
Frames adjusting out, the seal for down, and metal underneath the windows to every classroom. It's not insulated. There are times where we have actually seen drop on the inside panels of the classroom because they're not insulated.
We also need updates in our heating system. There's several classrooms that are way too cold, very few that are in metal. Students that have to wear their coats.
Back, he went out there to
Right.
manage it.
Glass is not energy efficient at all. We also, on the structural steel that separates the windows, are not insulated, therefore losing a lot of heat. We're also looking to create a boiler room going from boilers to LP propane boilers. Much more efficient, a lot less maintenance. The piping in the boiler room will be all replaced with 4 the LP heaters, replacing heaters to LP also. Be a lot more efficient. They will be replacing all the pumps in the heating system. So therefore, I think we have like 8 pumps now. We will reduce that in quite savings.
In terms of the school building, those things are important in terms of us having a conducive environment for learning. When it's cold, it's really hard for teachers and kids to focus.
The electrical system totally through the whole building is in real bad shape.
It's important to run different technology and things we need in the classrooms, science in the lab, to the technology of 2020.
All the classrooms, you have to turn the lights off with a actual breaker, not a light switch, a whole no breakers. When the breakers do go bad, they are hard to find to get them replaced. Some of the electrical system, the problems we had, even some of the grounds have been found to be live, power to the neutral and power to the ground. So a very dangerous type situation.
75% of our windows are cracked. If you were to walk through here, you would see that are shattered or kept together with tape, and that's a safety issue.
The glass bricks, single pane glass.
Well, they're going to replace the glass, but they're also going to put
apologize. We'll go to the,
I told them they're gonna hear most
we'll
of
lose the technology and we'll go to good old just talking about what.
I told them they're going to hear the same stuff by the presenters, so,
Yeah.
so that they don't feel like they're missing out.
Well, I apologize because I don't want to waste people's time. So,
No, they're not coming here, right? They're just doing.
Oh, yeah, you're going to hear them right on there.
You're gonna hear them on here.
They were introduced,
so.
fellow from EEI,
So-
and I'll let.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I've got, it's going to take me a second anyway,
Okay.
so.
So we have two presenters as well as Zach, and they're going to,
Person here.
who are you doing first, Mike?
Yeah, I think I'll start with Mike to talk about, talk a little bit more about the project. And I do apologize to people here and people at home around the technical difficulties we just had around the video. It is available online. It's available on our website. It's out there in a lot of places for people to see. It does a good job. The thing,
Now,
the video.
this is not going to be online, though?
This part SAP is going to record all this stuff. So after, we'll have the ability to post this online too.
Oh, okay.
For people to see. So, and people at home right now will be able to see Mr. Davey talk a little bit about the project, and then all the other people who will answer questions all this will be recorded and be available online as well.
I might go home and watch this.
Well, there you go.
Probably will.
You don't have to wear the mask at home. You know?
I think I'll go home.
All right, Scott, take care.
All right.
Go home and watch it.
Again, my apologies for the.
You can watch it live tonight, and I'm sure SAPA will be rebroadcasting it between now and Election Day, so you'll have a couple more opportunities to actually see this. Thanks for coming.
So, Mike, do you want to share, or do you want me to do it?
I can do it.
The good news is.
It's not allowing me to share though because I'm not a presenter.
Okay. So tell you what, we'll do it the other way. You just tell me when to move slides.
Okay.
Just give me a minute to pull that up. Just a minute.
I'm gonna turn my microphone off. Sorry,
Okay.
audio.
No, I know it's tough.
Okay.
Yep, go right ahead.
All set.
So I'm Mike Davey with Energy Efficient Investment. Mike Davey with EEI. I'm trying to just avoid the feedback, so I shut off my sound. If you can't hear me because it's doubling, just someone raise their hand and tell me. But when I had my audio on, I was constantly hearing myself kick back. Good. Okay, so Mike Davey with EEI, just to let you know, the project that is before you is a bond vote, was part of a long-term process that we did with the district, starting almost 2 years ago. It began with a desire to improve the energy efficiency of the buildings in the district and find creative ways to finance needed improvements. The district has known for years that they had windows that were from more than 50 years old, an oil infrastructure on the boiler plant at Riverside that was nearing the end of life, as well as problems heating the high school on cold days. I think the first important part of this process was taking a step back and not just assuming that these buildings were the best fits for the district for the next generation. So rather, before we just ask the voters to support improvements to these buildings, we actually did the process of hiring an architect, Banwell Architects out of Quechee, Vermont, to look at whether these buildings are going to serve the community for years to come. And so we started mostly with Riverside, and we did a study and found that the replacement cost of Riverside is much higher than the projected infrastructure upgrades to bring it up to the standards of the elementary schools. So after a fairly long process, it was really determined that Riverside is an important building for the school district to be a K through high school operator, and it really makes sense to keep that building running. We can't keep it running forever with 1950s windows with asbestos caulking and with an older oil infrastructure. And so we wanted to modernize that building, add LED lights, and that was really the major decision point that was made early on, is that all 4 buildings in the district are needed and worth keeping. Our company, EEI, has been working with school districts in Vermont for the last 7 or 8 years. And prior to that, we've been working with Southern New England schools since 1987 and in Northern New England since 2007. Next slide. So what is in this bond vote? Some of the important things, and the video really does a great job of explaining this, so I know we couldn't get that running tonight, but it is worth checking that out if you're interested in getting a picture of some of this. New electrical systems for Riverside and Springfield High School, as well as a new fire alarm system. So Riverside has a system that is, again, original to the building. Parts are no longer made. And we don't actually have light switches, we have really contactors. And so every time we want to shut off lights, you actually have to flip breakers in some areas. The ventilation system at Springfield High School does not meet a modern, efficient design requirement. It has unit ventilators that are really beyond the end of life. We're putting some money into them this year to keep them running, hopefully get another year or 2 out of them. But if the bond vote passes, we really want to move away from this unit vent, which is a hole in the outside wall, to a ducted high efficiency energy recovery that'll provide more even heat and allow us to heat the buildings on cold days, which we really struggle doing now. Some of the important efficiency measures will be doing LED lights and high efficiency boilers at 2 of the schools, LED lights at all the schools and boilers at 2, upgrading the control system at the high school and at Riverside, replacements of the 60 to 70-year-old windows at Riverside and the high school. And one of the things that's going to help reduce the tax impact for the voters in Springfield will be, if this project is passed, there will be a bond payment, but that will be partially offset with $240,000 in energy and operational savings. Those are annual savings. Next slide. Here's a picture of some of the electrical components at Riverside. The emergency lights are actually plug-in fixtures. Typically, plug-in fixtures are things you see at your house, residential. It's not allowed in commercial construction. You need hardwired emergency lighting. The light is pendant. It's very low light levels, poor quality, and the electrical switch gear, meaning all the power panels and main distribution, is original to the building at the middle school and the high school. Next slide. Here's a picture of Riverside. Again, some of the open junction boxes and problems that we saw. Next slide. Again, that's the 1958 switch gear. Those parts are not available anymore. So should you need to shut the power off to the building, who knows if it's going to come back on. And if it isn't, then you're replacing these things in an emergency rather than a planned upgrade of the building. Next slide. I think an important, there's a lot of this project that is replacing the guts of the building, adding ductwork, upgrading these electrical systems and heating systems, and the public isn't going to necessarily see that unless you're interested. We can certainly take a tour if the project passes. What the public will see is that Riverside is a building that's almost disproportionately glass to siding. It's almost a glass building. It's got the glass walkway. In the classrooms, the glass goes in many cases all the way down to the floor level. It's really too much glazing. In fact, we often find that people draw shades year round to cover up the light because that just provides too much glare. So not only are we going to replace the 1950s single pane windows, but we're going to update the building to give it reduce unnecessary glass and put in insulated wall above and below the glass. We're also going to replace the exterior storefront, which is your main entrance, and which will provide additional security barrier at the front of the school. Next slide. Here's some existing condition photos. So on the left right-hand corner, you'll see where the glass is almost 12 feet. It goes right up to the steel beam, goes almost all the way down to the floor. And that is really wasted. If you can see up on the second floor, they have it almost completely blocked off with shades. So you have a lot of glass you don't need. It's not energy efficient, and it's not even being used. Along the front of the building, on the top right side, you'll see that we have plywood infills where there's air conditioning. We're going to get rid of those, as we'll have a central air conditioning system for that area. And then the bottom right, you'll see that glass archway or crossway that connects two portions of the school. Again, floor to ceiling glass. It's really unnecessary. It's energy inefficient, and it's all single pane 1950s era construction. Next slide. Here's again just a zoom in of that area. Next slide. This is what we're going to get at the end of the day. If you can see, if the project passes, we're going to eliminate some of that unnecessary glazing, put in insulated exterior wall panels, and then put double insulated glass pane in places where it can be utilized to provide adequate natural light for the classrooms. Next slide. Springfield High School, we're going to put in insulated, do similar. So those white bands will be an insulated panel, and then we'll have high efficiency glass to replace single pane above and below. Next slide. One of the issues we talked a lot about at the board, the right is a picture of what you have for air handlers. They're unit ventilators. They're basically on the outside wall. There's a hole in the wall in the back where air comes in. It's heated up in the classroom, and then it ventilates the classroom with all the components right there. It's nice from a service standpoint. You can get right to every component right at the classroom, but it takes up valuable classroom space. It's very noisy equipment. And it's also a risk for freeze up because your heating element is right on the outside wall next to a hole in the wall. And so it's very inefficient from an energy standpoint. Should the bond vote pass at Springfield High School, we would like to remove those unit ventilators, install rooftop energy recovery ventilators, which you'll see in the left. There's actually a wheel that's what you see pulled out. That will spin between the supply and the exhaust air. It'll preheat the incoming air using the air that's leaving. And then that'll be ducted to each classroom, so that wasted space that you currently have a big appliance in the classroom will go away. Next slide. And I will say just those are things, unit ventilators are never the way you would build a new school. It doesn't meet the energy code, and it's very inefficient. And so this would bring it up to a modern standard. The overall project will be $10.4 million. However, that will be offset by $45,000 in rebates from Efficiency Vermont. Also, $1.3 million would be paid from capital and from the operating budget. So we're projecting that the borrowing amount would be $9 million. One of the things that we do understand that bringing this project forward now during the COVID era was a tough decision. One of the reasons we are recommending the project at this time is interest rates are at historic low rates. We're projecting that they're going to be below 3%. And that is hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings borrowing at these low rates than they would be had they been, say, 10 years ago on the last project we're done, when the rates were over 4.5%. Next slide. So for the budget impact, Rick, do you want to take these? If not, if we have trouble switching, I don't mind doing it. Oh, I can't hear anyone. So, okay, let me try that again. Rick,
I can take it.
Sure, thanks.
Let me just turn off my audio here. So, just someone give me a thumbs up. You can hear me okay? So, our debt service, as Mike was saying, we're at a opportune time. If we were borrowing this money at the rates that we borrowed the 2009 dollars at, we'd spend $2 million more in interest. So we're going to save money there. Next year's budget will actually see FY22 there. The budget that we are preparing, we would actually see a $57,000 savings in our operating budget. And in FY23, which would be for the taxpayers out there, it'll be the taxes you pay in the fall of 22. So 2 years from now is when you would see 2.5 cent increase in your taxes. And we are working to try to mitigate that increase. We believe that we can find some more operational savings, but we can't truly advertise them at this point. But 2 years from now, we hope to have an opportunity to reduce that further from a 2.5 cent. So if you have roughly $130,000 assessed home, and it's based on the value that the town has you assessed at, you're roughly looking at $19 a year on average over the life of the project. We're looking at roughly 35 years on average for the equipment. And we break even. Is that on the next slide? I forget what the next slide is. Yeah, we break even, roughly 20 years out from our operational savings to our debt service payments. So we think this is a strong financial proposal. It we recognize that there is some economic struggles going on with our COVID environment, but when this actually hits, we're taking advantage of the COVID environment as far as the tax rates are concerned. And when this hits the local taxpayer, we all hope that 2 years from now that COVID is a long thing of the past and we're well beyond it. Do we have another slide? So talked a little bit about this. It's improvements that have been needed for a long time. The ventilation obviously was in our plans, but the pandemic has kind of squarely put it in front of our faces. We're trying to make the building safer for not only the students but our staff as well. And I talked about earlier the low borrowing cost, and the equipment that we're putting in, should give us some long-term life out of these buildings. We believe these buildings are integral to the community, and the project will make the schools much more efficient, healthy, and attractive. And Zach, you gonna open up to questions?
Staff, Zach, or from school board members?
No additional. Sorry, no additional presentations. We're happy to take a lot of questions.
Okay. Open the floor to questions. We have some folks here in person, and you can give you the first opportunity to ask a question if you have one.
Hi, yeah, my name is Tony Bianco. I live on Commonwealth. Here's an example. We moved here from Arizona. We just bought our house. And as soon as I got my tax bill, I found out the taxes were up $350 more from the previous owner. Now, when I called town hall, they said there was nothing that can be done, and I left it at that. I figured, well, we just moved in, too much to do right now. Now you're asking me, and I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income, to make a sacrifice here with higher taxes. That's basically what this is higher taxes, no matter how you spell it out. Now, it doesn't seem much, but it's higher taxes, so that's going to lower my income. Now, what I want to know is anybody else or any other the district people here that work for the town making any sacrifices like I am? Maybe they should take a pay cut. You know, I mean, sounds crazy, but you know, how do you want me to feel when my income is not going to stay the same, it's going to go down? You know, it kind of gets me a little annoyed. And I know next year when I get my tax bill, it's going to go up. It always goes up every year around here, $200, $300. And now it's going to go up even more with this. And I can see where the improvements have to be made, because when I was in Arizona, I worked for Mingus High School in the school district, and I seen when they did their big thing too. So I can see what has to be done, but maybe not at this time. I don't know. I mean, you got to understand where the taxpayer's coming from. And I talked to a lot of different people. The only reason why there's not a lot of people here is because of COVID. But this had me just a little bit annoyed, because at this time, I think this is a bad time to ask for this. But I can see that the schools need it. You know, I'm not saying they don't. And I'm just trying to be...
All right, thank you for your, I guess there's a question there as well as a comment, so Zach.
So maybe I'll start, and then I can let maybe some board members...
Well, let me make one more comment.
Sure, go ahead.
If I knew the town wasn't going to raise my taxes $250 to $300, which they do every year, you know it, because you live here, and I've lived here too. We used to live on Coolidge Road before we moved to Arizona. I mean, then I would say, yeah, I'd go for this. But if my taxes are going to be raised $250, $300 on top of this, I'm on a fixed income. This lowers my standard of living. And my wife's been a teacher for 49 years, so I understand, and I've worked in schools all the time. You know, but you got to realize this at this time. I don't think this is prudent.
All right, let's see what kind of...
Okay, yeah, sure. No,
yeah, I think there's and I'll let the board talk about it more. Mr. Davey was discussing the fact that when this stuff started, it was pre-COVID when we started having the conversation. So part of it was, I know I've had some questions from people in the community, like, why now, in the middle of this stuff? Why are we doing this? And part of the backstory is that this whole conversation began a couple of years ago when we started with an energy efficiency audit. So we were like, where can we save money around the district in terms of our operations? And that was the starting point. And then we started looking at different relationships we could get in with companies where we would effectively put up less money at the beginning of projects to be able to have them do a lot of the installation work on things that were going to create efficiencies. And what we discovered in all of that was that Riverside Middle School, which is where a lot of this project we're now talking about, is where a lot of the savings were. And then the question we got into, which for years people have been kicking down the road, is Riverside is more or less what it was when it opened in the late 50s. Not much has been done to the building. And part of that, I can say, since I've been superintendent, has been that my fear has been around pushing any big projects towards a building that I wasn't sure whether or not we were going to keep for the long run. Like, if we didn't have a commitment that Riverside Middle School was going to stay, and if it didn't make sense for us to keep Riverside Middle School, and maybe we should consolidate our middle school with our high school, and we should use different spaces, we could do it cheaper. So that was like a decision that had to be made, and there were multiple boards while I've been superintendent who, for a variety of reasons, were hesitant to make that call one way or the other. Like, we're going to invest a bunch of money in Riverside or we're not. So this board, in the process of exploring this energy audit, started to look at, well, if we're going to make all these energy efficiency improvements at Riverside, the first thing we got to answer is, are we staying in Riverside? Is there a future at Riverside Middle School? And part of what they did is they explored, like, well, what would happen if we tried to, let's say we just dropped Riverside and we took the students that we had and we created like an addition on the side of the high school and we used a singular building. Were there savings in that project if we went that direction and we just eliminated Riverside? And ultimately, and I'll let the board maybe can talk about this more, the decision was that I think it was 30 million. I'll let somebody jump in, help me out with the figures. But I feel like the project was maybe going to be upwards of 30 million. It might be. Am I wrong on that? Somebody can help me out with the numbers. But it was significantly more expensive to do some type of addition on the high school than it would be to continue to invest in Riverside Middle School. And so that was one of the big decisions. And then the board got into then, okay, where are those savings, and is right now the time? And part of the things, and maybe one of the things we can talk about, is the bond rates. Because of COVID, the bond rates are unbelievably cheap compared to how we've borrowed in the past. And the tax impact is not going to hit, I think Rick Pembroke, our business manager, talked about it. The tax impact doesn't hit people for 2 years. So the thought process is, we can save $2 million compared to what we did when we built the elementary schools, based on the rate that's available to us. And in 2 years, where the assumption is we're out of COVID, we've cleared the baffles of COVID, and now we get the benefit from the $2 million of savings for a project that we think we'd have to do anyways. And taxpayers don't get hit with that uptick until 2 years down the road because of the way in which the bond financing works out. But Troy, do you want to jump in?
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. So I think the main question that was brought is why now? So when is there ever a good time to raise taxes? The answer to that is there never is a good time to raise taxes, right? So it's going to be $20 this year, $20 next year. It's never a good time. But with the interest rates at an all-time low, the board thought it was a good idea to bring this to the community to decide. It's not up to the board to decide to increase the tax rate. It's up to the community to decide whether we're going to move forward with these improvements to the school. I think the board is all unified in the fact that these improvements are needed. It's going to improve the quality of life for the students, the staff. And what we're really trying to do is reinvigorate the community and improve the educational system within Springfield. And you can't do that with a failing building.
You might want to.
One of the questions I had today from another person was, why are we putting this bond vote forward in December? The answer to that is, if it passes, we can go out and get quotes to do the work over the summertime. So typically you would push this off until town meeting day, but if we can get it passed in December, we can make the improvements this summer and start saving money from the energy efficiency. So I don't think there ever is a good time to raise taxes, but we need to go out to the community and find out where they stand on this, and then we can educate ourselves and move forward with a different decision. So does anybody else want to jump in on that?
I just want to make sure that we answer his question, which was about the increase in town taxes, so it might be helpful to talk about the difference between town taxes and school taxes.
Yeah, but right now when I look at my tax bill, I see more than half of it goes to the schools. I mean, I could bring my tax bill in and show it to you. Right now, it's close to $4,800. Now, when it hits $5,000 and then it goes to $5,500, I mean, when is enough is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, because it's going to get to a point where people can't pay it no more. I mean, it's getting to that point in California, a lot of different states. And I know I got friends of mine in California. They're moving he's got a leather crafting business, pretty big. He's moving it out of California. I mean, so when is enough? You know, that's what, I mean, I know what you need for the schools, because my wife's been a school teacher.
Sure. I think it's, and I think that question is every person has to answer that for themselves, and I'm not going to, so, and I know when I came in as a superintendent, one of the things that I said to people was, we're not going to throw at you, every time we come to you with a tax raise, we're not going to say, hey, if you care about kids, you're going to do this. And if you don't do this, you don't care about kids. I think that's a garbage.
My wife's been a teacher. We care about
No,
kids.
totally. And I'm saying, that's what I'm saying.
She's the best, let me tell you.
That's not the measure. We know that we have to balance, like, making the community affordable for people and providing the services people need to make it a good community. And we're trying to find that balance. So Mr. Kraft was just talking about the fact that it's different. The school taxes and the town taxes are very different. Now, in the community, and Vermont is probably, in terms of property tax, the most complicated system in the country in terms of the way it works. So on the municipal side, on your town side that covers all your town services, basically what you do is you take how much did the town services cost, you take the grand list, and you just divide it up amongst the grand list, and off it goes to people, and that's what you pay.
Yeah, I know.
Right, and that's what most places in the world are, and property taxes for schools work the same way if you're not in Vermont. It works very similar in terms of schools, and that's what most people are used to. But in Vermont, the whole idea behind the system is that communities that struggle to raise money because they have a smaller tax base, the idea behind the system is the youth in those communities should not be held back by the low tax base. So if communities are basically, in our case, in our community, for every dollar we contribute as a community to the school system, somewhere else in Vermont, either through sales tax or through other communities who have contributed their property tax, we get $3 comes back to us. So we put in $1 and we get $3. Now on the municipal side, you put in $1 and that's your $1. That's it. On the school side, because of the way in which the Vermont system works, Springfield gets one of the best deals in the states of Vermont. And you put in your $1 and you get $3 back. And a lot of people, most people in our community do not pay based on their actual property tax because they get money back through the state system. And what you actually end up doing is you get a rebate and you're paying based on your income on a sliding scale as opposed to actually based on your property, no matter what it says in your tax bill. Now, the problem with this is I'm a superintendent of schools, and I have the hardest time at times understanding the system and sitting down with my own tax bills and having access to all the things that I have to understand this stuff. And when I talk to taxpayers, it is really hard because I think there's layers to this to understand on the school side that are really hard to understand. And it's not because people don't have the knowledge, just because the system is unbelievably complicated. But the good news is it's complicated in a way that benefits communities like Springfield. Right now it is true that we have combined tax rate. You combine the municipal tax rate in Springfield and the school tax rate. We have a really high tax burden. But on the municipal side, I believe that is now the highest tax burden in the state on the municipal side of the equation. On the school side, we're not in the bottom of the barrel. I don't want to present that we are. We're in the top third or so. But 2/3 of our community who owns property don't pay based on their property value. They pay based on their income. And but that kind of sussing through all that and making sure that people understand that is super hard. And for years and years and years, I have people, when I have conversations about it, don't fully understand it through no fault of their own, just the difficulty of the system. And I'd say cynically, now I'm not saying this because I'm an educational leader and I want to improve schools, but cynically, if you just looked at it even as just an economic development program, and this is the way we should look at it, but putting in $1 to get $3 back in jobs for people in the community is a pretty good deal. That's not the reason why you should vote for this bond at all. But I'm just saying that the school side of the equation in terms of taxes is just less transparent to people than the municipal side. And it's very often the assumption that these two things work in the same way. and they're unbelievably different. So when you see the two rates, and they look, they look like similar, you got to realize that everybody's paying the town rate, and most people are not paying the school rate. So, but
Hopefully that helped. Did you want to follow up?
I just want to ask, if this bond fails, can you go for another bond for just one building now, and then do a bond later on for another building?
we can always, all those things are options. There's nothing that prevents us from deciding to do a bond. It's a long, all this is a long process, so it took us 2 years to get to this moment. But it would be at the board would decide what they feel is appropriate to try to maintain the buildings in a way that allows us to continue to pursue the mission and vision of the school district.
It does look like the buildings are in poor shape, and that's not a good place for kids to learn in or for teachers to work in. It doesn't sound like it's safe if the ventilation systems aren't any good.
Have we got, not to knock anybody's work ethics, but no, I'm serious. I don't want to knock it.
No,
because I've worked in schools as a custodian. Are there work records of how these buildings were kept or anything? Are they?
Yeah, I think, in a lot of cases, the story that I tell people.
And I'm sure you got good maintenance, man. I'm not.
No, and people work the tails off.
Yeah, I know. I worked at Mingus High School, so I know.
Yeah, and I'll let some other people talk. I have this tendency to keep talking. I'm going to stop in a second and let board members or other people talk about some of the experience. But I think the story I tell people all the time is that so I've been doing this, I've been in the district for 10 years, and I've been doing this job for 7.5 or so. The district went through a period of time when it was harder to raise funds, and they were worried about the number of student programs they were cutting. And as a result of that, there was a period of time where we did not do the depth of preventative maintenance that we should have been doing in our buildings. For years, that was the case. And the best example of that was when we had a situation where we had a roof at the high school that we kept kicking down the road. We should replace it, we should update it.
Sounds familiar.
We kept kicking it down the road because it's like, well, this is expensive, we don't want to cut the staff in order to do that. This is programs kids need, so we're going to put off the building project. And what ended up happening, surprise, surprise, the gym roof at the high school leaks. It leaks down onto the gym floor, wrecks the gym floor.
Been there, done that.
Yep, so wrecks the gym floor. All the kids, as we're trying to fix the gym floor, have to go into our workout room where we have cheaply bought residential equipment because we didn't spend the money, we were worried about spending too much money on the exercise equipment. We burn out all our exercise equipment. The water goes down through the gym floor to the art wing where it lifts up asbestos tiles, and now we have to shut down our art wing and do tens of thousands of dollars in asbestos abatement. So, that was a series of things that happened off of one set of decisions around not doing our preventative maintenance. And at Riverside for a while, because things got as bad as it did, and that was prior to most of the people who are on this call right now weren't associated with the district at the time. The decision got harder and harder about, is this place becoming a money pit or not? And if it is, then we shouldn't make any investments in it. And it took this board coming to the conclusion of being definitive about exploring, nope, it still makes sense to invest in this building. So if that's the case, okay, great. Now we can't have 1950s electrical systems. We can't have single pane windows that are cracked all over the place. We got to update the ventilation. Those are the types of things, and that was kind of the process. So I'm sorry. So board members, I don't know.
Right. And we can come back to you later. This is a public meeting. We can come back, but we have some folks online. I'll see if we want to have any other people who want to share their answers to the questions we've already heard, or if you just want to take more questions.
And for people who are citizens who are online, if you'd like, there's a hand raise feature at the bottom of if you're looking at the screen, at the bottom of the screen, there's a toolbar and there's hand raise feature, and I'd be happy to call on folks. Go ahead, Mike. You got your hand up. Good job.
Thanks. So one thing I don't think I'm in my presentation. These projects are not wants. So the question was asked about.
It's about are these buildings being well maintained? And you have all 1950s infrastructure and early 60s that we're asking to be replaced. So they've gotten far more than their useful life out of this equipment. Many of these projects, like upgrading the electrical systems, are over $1 million. And if you were to take this list of $10 million worth of needs and divide it up and just do it over the next decade, let's say one at a time, the cost impact to the budget would be roughly $1 million a year. Financing it now with these low interest rates and taking advantage of the energy savings is making the budget impact less than half of that. So that's the reason to do this now and to do it together as opposed to separated.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Others?
Rick, I see your hand up.
Got a few things to say in response if I could.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I'm going to go for it.
Go for it.
I was going to make that similar point about why do it now, and I would just add the other thing is if we'd have done these repairs 10 years ago, the price tag would not be 10 million. And 5 or 10 years from now, the price tag's not going to be 10 million. It's going to be higher. So the longer we wait and the more slow process we take to do it, the more it's going to drive up the price. Also, I too feel the pinch on taxes and know many people that feel the pinch on taxes. Fortunately, I'm working. I have options. I could go get a second job. I'm certainly not suggesting that our people go get second jobs. But what I'm suggesting is that if we can get more people attracted to town and get more homeowners to come in, and whether they're building homes or they're fixing up homes, and bring our community back stronger than it is today, we can increase the tax rolls, which lowers the burden per taxpayer and actually help drive taxes down for people like you folks and that are on fixed incomes. And that's my biggest benefit to doing this. Well, second biggest. The first biggest for me, I'll get to in a second. The second biggest is I feel like we're riding on a sinking ship, and I want to plug the holes in the boat and see us rise back up on top of the water where the boat should be, and sail a ship that's can be proud to sail. The biggest reason that I mentioned for me to do this project now is there are some immediate needs that we need to do, particularly around the COVID situation and ventilation. We've applied a bunch of Band-Aids that make our schools safe to operate, and I believe that that's been clearly said. And if anybody thinks I'm wrong in saying that, please let me know. But our schools are currently safe to operate the way we're operating because of the Band-Aids we've put on. But it includes things like leaving windows open and just throwing money out the windows through heat and things like that. So by making these changes, we can make our buildings safer more effectively and efficiently. And there are certain pieces of this that while the boilers may be running right now, or the ventilation Band-Aids are getting the job done, they're not going to last. And then we're going to be forced. And we all know if you wait for the last minute to get some work done on your car or work done on your house, and then it's a crisis and you have to do it now, beggars can't be choosers, and you end up paying more money because you can't wait. You have to have it done now, and you have to hire someone to come and do it at premium dollar. So financially, in the long term, I think this is the right decision for our town.
Thank you. Others?
Anyone else? Again, looking for hand raises to...
Comments or questions?
Yep. Let's see. Kristen Puffer. Just will have to unmute yourself and then you should be good to go. So on the bottom of your screen, there's a microphone symbol with a red mark on it. If you click on that, that should unmute you, and then we can hear your question.
Zach, you have a hand up.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if there's somebody, I'm working on Mr. Puffer, who has a hand up.
Can you hear us?
Yes, wonderful.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Yep, we
Yes,
can.
yes.
Okay.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I recently moved to Springfield, and I'm actually really excited about the bond issue. I think it's really important to invest in the town, and I think it's really important, especially to invest in children of the town, to show that you care about your town and how it grows up. I don't have children, but I think that if you want to attract people to your city, and you want them to want to live here and be comfortable and happy, you have to be able to provide safe places for children so that they can grow up and people will want to start a family here. And I know that the economy is terrible. And I know everybody's feeling the pinch, and it's really scary. But if we don't bond together and do what we can and give what we can, we're never going to get out of it. And we need to get out of it. We need to provide safe places for our kids. And I'm sorry that it's hard for people to do that, but if you can just think of it as an investment in the future, not just for the children, but for your whole town and for your residents. It might make it easier for you to make the sacrifices that you need to make. So that's all.
So when initially whoever was at the microphone, it was really easy to hear. And then the second speaker, I think we got bits and pieces. I think we got the main themes, but I just wanted to let you know that there were some pieces in there we missed.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much for your input. Others?
Others. Right now I don't have any other ones.
We want to give everybody a chance who has a question or a comment to participate. Our folks who are here, anything else you want to ask about? Nope?
No, I'm
Okay.
fine.
I don't want to close the meeting if there's somebody either on your staff or somebody from the community who has a question or a comment.
So I've got Rick Pembroke, CFO, had a comment.
Okay.
Well, I just want to make sure to clarify that, let me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure to clarify, during part of that conversation, it was mentioned $250 in taxes. This bond on average to the average, house in Springfield will be $20, be less than $20. So I don't want there to be that confusion out there in the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Any closing comments from you? Zach?
I think I understand. I appreciate people coming out and this question of what is the value versus what is the cost is super important. It's always important. It's always legitimate. And
Zach, if you're talking, you're muted.
Really? Well,
we'll try to do this now and see if it doesn't create a big echo.
Great to know.
It does.
And it does.
So
I was just saying that I think that it's super fair to have this ongoing conversation about sacrifice versus value return.
I think that's an important conversation to have. I think we think does this make sense financially, and that it's something that needs to get done, and it's probably as cheap as we're going to be able to do it. And if we wait, we might be in a situation that was being discussed where we're going to do it as a panic move that ends up costing us more money.
So I want to thank the staff and board members from the school district for participating in tonight's public hearing. And if there are no other comments or questions, I'm going to declare this public hearing is adjourned. The ballot box will be open at 8 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. next Tuesday, December 8th in Riverside Gymnasium. Good night. an absentee ballot.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
But then there were select board members.
Anyway, it's a town hall issue, so
Yeah, I'll
call
stop by
them
there.
or.
I'll stop by there Monday.
I have to say this presentation, especially with the pictures, really helped